Hello dear students, this is Aiswani Chakraborty, Assistant Professor at Swami Vivekananda Institute of Science and Technology. Now in today's video, we are going to discuss how to create an impressive resume and a CV. So without further delay, let's get started. First of all, we have to understand what is a resume. A resume is a formal document that a job applicant creates to itemize their qualifications for a position. A resume is usually accompanied by a customer's cover letter in which the applicant expresses an interest in a specific job or company and draws attention to the most relevant specifics on the resume. American job coaches insist that a resume should only be 1 or 2 pages long. British job applicants traditionally are expected to produce somewhat more detailed document called a CV or a curriculum vitae. So here we understand a few things. First of all, in a resume, you are to include and itemize all your qualifications for a position that you're applying for. Try to include a cover letter to your resume. It is going to enhance the possibility of you getting selected in a job. If you are following the American methods, then go for the resume within 2 pages. If you are following the British trends, then create a relatively longer document called the CV. Now let us understand the origin of the word resume. Resume is a French word that means a summary, although in English it is used to refer to an account or a summary of something. Its popular use is limited to mean a brief account of an applicant's details. To procure a job, resume, pronounced as resume, there is a difference. Even if it's the S used in the word resume, it pronounced as a Z. It should not be confused with the word resume, which means to restart something. Professionally, a resume is a document that contains the summary of the personal details, relevant job experience, education skills, goals, achievements, and interests of an applicant. It is the first item that an employer encounters regarding the job seeker to shortlist him or her for the job interview. Therefore, we can conclude that the primary aim of a resume is to get a call for an interview, although securing the job is the ultimate objective. Now, what are the good attributes of a resume? A good resume has the following major attributes. Number 1, a good resume is designed for a specific post. It should arouse the interest in the reader. If you are applying for the job of a manager, a sales executive, a junior engineer, whatever the post may be, the resume must be designed for that specific post. So if you are applying for multiple jobs, then you should always change your resumes. You should design them according to the requirements of the job. Well displayed with proper formatting, spacing, and sufficient white space. The formatting has to be well equipped. Like it has to have good formatting of the letters that you are using, the colors that you are using, proper space, sufficient white space, all of that are important. Your resume should contain factual, correct, and complete data. Do not lie in a resume. Information is categorized under the headings and columns. Use appropriate concise style rather than using I repeatedly. Now here, try to make sure that you are using a very formal language. Instead of using I repeatedly, go for passive voice mostly. Coherent, uniform, and brief in presentation, preferably not more than 1 to 2 pages. Resume, since it suggests a summary of your details, must be coherent, uniform, and brief. It should not be very long to bore your recruiter. Do not ever make overstated assertions that you cannot prove during the interview. Otherwise, your candidature can be disqualified. Highlights relevant areas starting from the recent ones. Try to always highlight on your skills, your educational qualities, qualifications, and other things like co-curricular activities, something that is going to improve your chances of getting the job. Use the right words, grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Now, it is actually very embarrassing that if you are the recruiter and reading a resume and you find several grammatical errors or misspelled words, that actually shows your lack of credibility. Now, let's talk about the important do's for a resume. First of all, keep your resume clear and concise. The thing is, an employer takes an average of 30 seconds to skim a resume. So you want them to see right away that you are qualified for the position. Proofread your resume numerous times to avoid any sort of grammatical mistakes or improper formatting. Limit your resume to 2 pages. It shouldn't be longer than that. Tailor your resume to suit the position that you're applying for. Specify the work experience or achievements that are related to the position you are applying to. This can be done by reviewing the job description or the employer's website. Highlight what you have accomplished. You want to be able to identify the best examples of where you have demonstrated your skills. Suppose you have the experience of some voluntary work, some paid internships. These examples should speak to what you have achieved in your role and should demonstrate what kind of employee you are. This is best to include this information under the work experience section. Be honest. Lying on your resume is never a good idea. You don't want to overstate your skills or results as it will mislead the employer. Have confidence in what you have to offer. Quantify your achievements. The more achievements that you include, the more the recruiter is going to get interested in your resume. Use simple words and action verbs. Do not include unnecessary technical jargons. It is going to baffle the recruiter. Use simple and plain language but also persuasive verbs. They are very important. Use action verbs related to your job field like handled, managed, led, developed, increased, accomplished, leveraged, etc. Include unpaid work that shows off your skills. Moving to the next slide. The don'ts of writing a good resume. First of all, don't use an inappropriate email address or invalid contact details. Then the recruiter will never be able to contact you even if your resume is selected. Next, do not include unnecessary personal information that is irrelevant to the job. Do not include reasons for leaving your previous jobs that might have a negative effect. Do not mention the last drawn salary. Keep that for your interview. That will be better. Do not include references if they are irrelevant. Do not simply list job responsibilities. You can either elaborate them or only include responsibilities that are relevant to the present job description. Next up, do not include hobbies or interests. Keep them for your CV. Do not try to elongate the resume by including all the personal information that you want to put in a CV. Do not mention your marital status and do not mention your religious belief. Now in the screen you're seeing two different formats. One is dismissed and the other one is correct. Here in the first one at the left of the slide you can see that the academic details are put first and then we have the work experience and after that we have mentioned the hard and soft skills. Now this is a very odd and backdated method. Moving to the next one in the right side. First of all we have the contact details, thereafter the experience, thereafter educational details and finally the skills. This is a relatively modern and more appropriate method to create your resume. Coming to the styles, resumes may be organized in two styles. First of all, we have the reverse chronological resume. This is the most common and widely used one. Okay, so this is the most commonly used format. It gives the data in reverse chronological order as employers today are more interested in your recent achievements. Such resumes go well with a fresher and a beginner's job. Okay, if you have multiple experiences, then try to organize them in a reverse chronological order. Thereafter, we have the functional resume. This is basically a skill profile that is used to focus on abilities that are specific to the type of the position sought. These resumes present details skill-wise. They are suitable for those who want to change their career, have a wide work experience, or are applying for jobs that require clearly defined profiles and personality traits. So what have we learned here? First of all, if you are a fresher, if you are a beginner, you can go with the reverse chronological resume. But if you are creating a functional resume to switch your job or have a more specific skill sets to mention, then go for the functional resume. The most common question that I get often asked during a class that, ma'am, how does a CV differ from a resume? So let's discuss that. A CV is an abbreviation of curriculum vitae, which is defined as a written record of your education and experience that you sent while applying for a job. Superficially, a CV and a resume appear to be very similar and may be considered incomplete and comparable in some places, but their purposes, layouts, and approaches are different. A CV is a traditional method of presenting personal data, while resume evolved much later. Secondly, a resume is normally used for seeking employment in business, finance, and HR fields, especially in the private sector, whereas a CV is helpful while applying for academic, scientific, research, medical, university, fellowship, and other educational positions. Thirdly, a resume is a brief and concise, not more than a 2 pages document. A CV is relatively a larger, longer version, a more detailed synopsis, extending up to 4 and 5 pages, perhaps more in case of annexure is attached. By and large, a resume has a free style and customarily enumerates a candidate's data in reverse chronological order, as we have already mentioned, while a CV conveys chronologically arranged information. Fifthly, a resume highlights only the relevant credentials, while a CV provides a comprehensive summary of an applicant's personal, educational, and career details. Now here in the slide, you can distinguish between a CV and a resume. So first of all, look at the heading. A resume begins with a headline giving name, address, etc. In CV, we can add it anywhere that we want. Desired position is stated in a resume, not mentioned in the CV. The career objective has to be clearly stated in a resume. It might not be included in a CV. Now the headings. Personal details comes at the closing part of a resume, whereas the CV opens with the personal details. Coming to the middle portion, work experience has to be the priority of your resume. Whereas in CV, we can mention the complete work experience after educational qualifications or anywhere that you want. As for education, relevant qualifications, trainings, etc. are mentioned, and always try to highlight your details if you're a new job applicant. For CV, qualifications, degrees, training, schooling names, institutions, university, years of passing, all are mentioned. Also, you can mention the seminars that you have attended, workshops that you have either attended or organized, research projects undertaken, and publications, etc. Skills and personality traits. Only special skills suitable to the targeted position are listed in a resume. In case of CV, you may list it but more broadly. Coming to the 8th point, that is achievement. Only concerned achievements are listed or those that differentiate you from others and show that you are a go-getter and can take challenges. These should be the highlight of your resume. For CV, distinctions, awards, merits, scholarships, fellowships, all are to be mentioned in the detailed record of the CV. Coming to the closing, activities and interests, you can include them in a resume. However, you can elaborate them in the CV. Coming to personal details, a resume closes with personal details, whereas a CV opens with personal details. Coming to the references, you can include references in the resume and you can also use your references in a CV. So that is very similar to each other. That's all for today. I shall see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.